Well, that is my very favorite Easter song, and it's the traditional Unity Easter song. It's the story of Jesus' life if you really listen to it. And the songwriter who composed that saw the Christ as the piper who is calling us. And he believes that his dance, his life, is the shape and the pattern at the heart of our reality. And it was actually, that tune was actually taken from our Shaker song, Simple Gifts, which again is another old Unity song from when I first got into Unity. And Simple Gifts has been done as a duet by Yo-Yo Ma and Alison Krauss as a Thanksgiving song. So now we're going to follow up. You could hear the same tune of Lord in the Dance and Simple Gifts. So our musicians are going to follow up with Simple Gifts. And as they play it, listen to its message, because its message is the teachings that Jesus brought to us. I sort of sprang that one on them. Sometimes when I sit down to write my talk, I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but that was given to me to bring to you today. 'Tis the gift to be simple. 'Tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down to where we ought to be. We're here to celebrate Easter, the resurrection not only of Jesus, but of ourselves. The gift of Jesus' life, of Jesus' dance, brought to us the freedom of the resurrection, the simplicity of life. That's what Jesus' teachings are all about. That's what his message was all about. But we forget that, don't we? We get all tangled up sometimes in the rules and regulations and the dogma, what we think we're supposed to do. Today's talk is awakening. We all know the Easter story, don't we? The crucifixion was on Friday. The tomb was on Saturday. The resurrection, Easter Sunday. And it's in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I'm going to start today with Mark 16:1-8, just so we hear the story a little bit again. Very on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of James, went to the tomb to anoint Jesus. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" Now, the tombs at that time were basically like caves in the hills, and they put a big stone over it to close it, and it was a huge stone. But when they looked up, they saw the stone, which was very large, had been already rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here." In Unity, we look beyond the story in the Bible to its metaphysical meaning, how it relates to our personal life, to this day and age. So for us, the crucifixion represents the crossing out of error or ego thinking. This Lent, what our church practiced giving up for 40 days, was the negative thinking of judgment. Think how changed we are after 40 days of not judging. The tomb, metaphysically, represents a time of transformation. Our life is on pause. Our thoughts, our old patterns are becoming weaker. They're not so strong. They're not running our life as much anymore. But our new ones are not solidly in place. So we sit in a place of the unknown. We can't go back, but we can't go forward. It's our tomb time. And then there's the resurrection. The resurrection is the awakening. That stone of limited beliefs is rolled away. And we're raised up, we're lifted up from our sense, our ego consciousness, to spiritual consciousness. So why we talk about this metaphysically is because most of us, at one time or another, have experienced crucifixion, right? Those times in your life where your challenge was so great you just felt like you were going to die, that you couldn't get out of it. And we've all experienced a tomb time. Those times in life where you felt you just hit a roadblock, you couldn't go any further. Your old life wasn't working anymore, but you just couldn't see a new life in front of you. And when that happens, sometimes we kind of retreat from the world, or we go into a deep depression. And we've all experienced a resurrection. When that stone is rolled away, when that roadblock, when that obstacle is gone, and we awake to a new life, a new way of thinking and seeing things. Charles Fillmore, who's the co-founder of Unity, wrote this: "The resurrection is the rising up of the whole man, spirit, soul, and body, into the Christ consciousness of life and wholeness. Every time we rise to the realization of eternal indwelling life, making union with the Father mind, the resurrection of Jesus takes place within us. A new awareness, a new awakening. Metaphysically, the Easter story is my ability to die to the old, what's not working for me anymore, and to transform, to awaken, to rise up in a higher place of consciousness where I can see things from a different viewpoint." So what are those times that you've got a challenge going on, you've got some kind of a problem, and you just can't go on anymore, you just can't make it work, you can't figure it out? You find yourself sometimes going into a place of depression, getting stuck. That's what we're talking about, getting stuck. And so we may sit there for a while, maybe a few days, maybe a week, sometimes months, right? We've been in those, we've experienced those. But then we don't know, something happens and everything changes because we've been actually processing as we sit in that place. And when we come out of it, we're not seeing life the same way we used to see it. We're seeing it differently. An example of this, a great example, is the metamorphosis of the butterfly. And so I wore my little butterfly today to remind us. So the caterpillar must die to its old way of being, right? It can't be a caterpillar anymore. It has to spend time in the cocoon, in the tomb. That's where it transforms. And then finally, it emerges. And if you ever watched a caterpillar, I've got a little butterfly garden growing outside my window where I work. And when it starts to emerge, it's a struggle. And we've heard that story, if you help it, the butterfly doesn't survive because the wings don't get strong enough. But it struggles, and it finally emerges into the freeness of a butterfly. So there's a story I heard I'd like to share about a little girl, and she caught this beautiful butterfly. She found a jar. Remember doing this as a kid? Found a jar. She took the lid, she punched holes in it. She put the butterfly inside. She put it in her bedroom. She just loved looking at it. It was so beautiful. She wanted to keep it forever. But her mother said to her, honey, you have to let it go. And reluctantly, she unscrewed the lid and took it outside, and she held the jar up. And the butterfly came up to the top. And then it spread its wings, caught the air, and soared upward. When I'm feeling like I've been crucified by life, when I entome myself by holding on to limited thought patterns of judgment, unforgiveness, victimhood, I'm holding a beautiful butterfly in a jar. I'm keeping myself from becoming what I'm meant to be, from awakening to my higher nature. Metamorphosis is a process that brings about change, a new state of physically, emotionally, and mentally and spiritually. It's an evolution, it's a rebirth, it's a transformation into our true self. The caterpillar does not turn into something it was not. If you look at a butterfly, what do you see? You see that same body, don't you? It doesn't turn into something it was not. It becomes, hear this, it becomes more fully what it was designed to become. So when I'm keeping myself buried in that tomb, when I'm not letting myself move forward, I can never become what I was designed to become. We are here to embody the divinity of our soul. We are so much more than human beings within us, and you all know that place. That essence, that spiritual essence. When we get into our heart place, we feel it, we know it. When we connect to someone in love, we feel it. You may see yourself as a lowly caterpillar, crawling, struggling to survive. But within your caterpillar self is the potential to become a free, unlimited butterfly. Can you own that? Can you know that? Can you feel that? Eric Butterworth, he's since made his transition, but he was a Unity minister. His church was at Lincoln Center in New York City. He had a congregation of several thousand. And if you look at the calendar today, Kim found a quote by him. Thank you for finding that, Kim. Eric Butterworth wrote, Easter says to everyone, no matter what challenges you may be facing in your life, with the right attitude, you can go through them, even grow through them, and no tomb of human despair can hold you back. You see that on your calendar? Take that home with you. Use that to remind you whenever you get stuck. Life is for living. Yes, things happen. Stuff happens. Life happens. But what happens around me, the events out here, the circumstances, what other people are doing, is not what matters. What matters is what's happening within me. There is one thing I have control over. What is it? My thinking, right? My thoughts. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that, does it? They just get in there and they just do whatever they want to do. But that's why I always use the deep breaths to start our service. Those 3 deep breaths will remind you of who you really are. Charles Fillmore was the co-founder of Unity. And he wrote this: Every time I let go of old ways and enter into the new, I have taken part in a resurrecting process. We carry our same thoughts with us, don't we? 99% of our thinking is the same thing over and over again, different people, different events. But when I make a conscious effort to stop that old pattern, when I allow myself to open up to a new way of seeing things, I start to take part in the resurrecting process. Filmer goes on to say, every time I have made a new beginning. How many of you have made new beginnings? You're in Florida. Most all of you have, right? Yes. Every time I have made a new beginning. Every time I have said to myself, with God's help I will rise up. With his help I will begin again. I have been resurrected. You've already done it. We are constantly growing, evolving as spiritual beings. And neither the crucifixion or the tomb can keep us from our good. So no matter how difficult the challenge, and hear that, no matter how you, no, I got a bigger problem than you. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, no matter how big. Sleeping within you is a power mighty enough to roll back any stone, any obstacle. Within you, and hear this, is all the strength, courage, and wisdom you need to triumphantly face your fears, to transform, and to awaken. The Easter message, the message of resurrection, is about us allowing the Spirit within us to lead us onward and upward into who and what we are created to be. Neither butterflies nor humans can survive in a jar. Both are created with the ability and the deep desire to soar. So this Easter, I invite you to trust your spiritual wings. Rise above earthbound challenges. No longer allow negative, limited beliefs to entomb you, and resurrect into a new consciousness. Experience a new beginning. Soar on the wings of spirit. This year, our church's affirmation is what? Best me ever. This is the year of awakening to that. God bless you and have a wonderful Easter.